How's everybody's week going?
Yeah, we can do Here, wait. Trying to make sure.
He's stumbling over the question. How is everybody's week going?
Okay, it's working. It's working this time. Let me just.
It was
Okay, yeah, it's working. Um, I mean, my week was great. Well, I guess it's still going. It
yeah.
wasn't great, but it's
It's
going great, I guess. But
it's been pretty solid so far.
I'm just
I
glad
think
for those of you who know, you know, but for those of you who don't know, this is attempt two on the night. The first one, we had a lot of technical difficulties early, um, and I don't know what we've done, boys, but that's just been a theme the past few episodes. Someone has had some kind of a error. So Tyler, I'm just gonna say that this is your week. I'm gonna blame that one on you. It's not your fault, but I'm just saying. I'm not saying it's your fault, but I had the one where I got kicked out in the middle of our thing. Jacob had his whole thing last time, and then Tyler, I guess you had the one that other time too. So I mean, I guess we're just going back around the rotation. It's your turn again, Tyler. So maybe it'll be my
let's
fault next week.
let's hope not. Let's hope I can make it all the
Yeah,
way through this episode today.
yeah. But all right, well, a little bit of a later introduction, but welcome back to the TJD Sports Podcast. I'm not gonna go through the whole spiel that I had the last time, but boys, I'm glad y'all had a good weekend. Okay, we're not gonna talk about it again. We're just gonna go straight into the picks. Um, rough week for you boys. I am gonna mention that again. Rough week for Tyler individually. Jacob, as you know, your 4 for 10 wasn't as bad as Tyler's 4 for 10. For those of you, just in case you missed that, both of these guys went 4 for 10. Our special guest Drew, he went 6 for 10. I'll do this again. I'll give Drew another round of applause since no one saw it the first time around. And I went 7 for 10. I had the best week. Um, but yeah, so Drew called the upsets of the weekend. Um, Drew was the only one of us that thought Georgia Tech was going to go in there and pick up a dub against number 4 Miami. They did it. Crazy game. Did y'all watch any of that game?
I did.
Yeah, I watched it while I was working.
Yeah. Um,
I watched a pretty good bit of it. So
it just it's the same story. Miami's defense just couldn't stop them, and then it forced Miami's offense to have to make plays, and they just didn't. I mean, Cam Ward was sacked. I don't know how many times it felt like it was at the end of the game, especially. It was just play after play. He was on his back, and that's not a good recipe to try and win, especially when you're the number 4 team in the country. But we've been talking about it. They've been playing with fire, and they finally got burned. So not completely unexpected, but it's still the number 4 team in the country that was undefeated, taking their first loss of the season. And oh, I forgot to mention, we're going to talk about it too, but the college football playoff poll number 2 was just released now, about 20 minutes ago, give or take. So we'll see in a little bit where Miami fell to, if they fell like too far, not far enough. We'll talk about that. But yeah, do y'all have anything else you want to add on that game?
Yeah,
it
I
just
mean, just adding on more of that Georgia Tech game. I feel like that was the Georgia Tech team we saw play Florida State at the very beginning. They
Yeah,
ran the ball down their throat, and defense was outstanding. And so I think that was the team that we saw kind of flourish away whenever the quarterback situation they were having. So I think that was really good for Florida State or not Florida State, Georgia Tech to get back on track.
yeah. Tyler?
it was like you said, Dylan. That Miami's been playing with fire all season, and they finally got burnt. And I know I picked Miami to win this game, but the entire time I was rooting for Georgia Tech.
Yeah,
I wanted to see the upset, and we did, and I was actually excited about it.
yeah. Well, and people forget this Georgia Tech team was Sorry, my watch just told me I'm not standing, but it just said I've completed my stand goal. So I was like, why is my watch going crazy? Go me. I completed the
Hey,
stand
Dylan,
goal while I'm
I
sitting
just
down.
got the notification you closed all of your
Yeah,
rings. Good job.
thank you. Yeah. Oh, I got all three. Oh, thank you. Um, but people forget Georgia Tech was ranked earlier this year. Um, and then they had a few rough weeks. But I just want to compare this Miami team. Y'all may agree, may disagree a little bit. This Miami team feels a lot like they're gonna have a better overall season than what this team I'm about to say is, but it feels a lot like the 2016 Tennessee Vols team where they started off undefeated. They were trailing in most of their games. Like we were ranked higher than everybody, but we started the game off losing, came back and beat Florida, came back, beat Georgia, came back, beat Virginia Tech that year. There was like just every single game, like we were losing at halftime, and then came back and won, and then we rolled up against Texas A&M, and Texas A&M was the first team to be like, oh no, y'all can't do that again. And then the very next, it may not have been the very next week, but like a game that we were all at, Alabama ended up smacking Tennessee. I'm not saying that that's going to happen to Miami. I'm not saying they're just going to come out and just get steamrolled their next game, but just the playing with fire aspect, it felt this Miami team feels a lot like that Tennessee team where they had a good record and they were ranked really high, but like you kind of knew like eventually you can't always spot the other team 2 touchdowns and just come back every single week. That's going to bite you eventually,
Yeah.
and that's what happened. So that's just my opinion on it. The next game, wild. Um,
Yeah.
Two of us got this one right. Me and Tyler predicted this somehow, but Ole Miss upset the Georgia Bulldogs. When was the last time Georgia had 2 losses in the regular season?
I think it was
Uh,
Kirby's first year.
Kirby's first year. And hey, you just reminded me something, Jacob, indirectly. The last the last time that Georgia lost 3 games in the regular season, I knew the answer to that and I still asked it, but I'm glad it did because it sparked this. Um, they had back-to-back losses to Ole Miss and Tennessee. I'm just saying.
We're not gonna speak on it. We're just gonna acknowledge that
I'm
that's the
just that's a
last
it's
time.
a it's a fact. I mean, it's
Yeah,
just
it's
a
a
stat.
fact.
It's
It's a fact.
coincidentally it was back-to-back losses to Ole Miss and then Tennessee, and that was the year Tennessee had the Hail Mary. So, fun fact. That's it's just a fact. That's what happened. I'm not trying to predict anything or say anything, but oh, and I just saw this comment. I know we just kind of wrapped up that game, but yes, Jared, you're right. They should have multiple losses, and that's kind of what we touched on with the playing with fire. They should have lost to Cal. They should have lost to who was that other game? Was it Virginia Tech? It was Virginia
Virginia
Tech.
Tech
Yeah,
at home.
well, Virginia Tech.
Virginia Tech. There's probably another one in there, but yeah, those they should have lost those. Zach, I'm just saying coincidentally in history, the last time this happened, it just happened to be they
Yeah,
lost to Ole Miss, and the very next week they lost to Tennessee as well. So hey, I'm holding up hope. But that game, um, again, Carson Beck turns the ball over. Um, Ever since his girlfriend made some kind of post about the QB is a QT or something like that, he's thrown 5 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. And
did y'all
he's
see where they were talking about his they were like, oh yeah, Carson Beck was talking about his draft stock, and then somebody said, I guess he meant for the CFL instead of the NFL.
yeah, he's he was
Oh,
supposed to be like a top 5 pick coming into the year, and he's just played himself like I don't maybe top 5 rounds. I don't know where he'll get drafted at this point. I don't know. I mean, I think he'll still get drafted middle rounds, but he can kiss the first round completely goodbye, unless he goes on some kind of mammoth run to end the year that we're just not expecting because we haven't seen any of it yet. But
which is very
Georgia
unlikely.
still has a good defense, but we saw Ole Miss. I don't want to say they did whatever they wanted the whole game because they didn't. Like Georgia still had good defense, but
Yeah,
no, I don't think Georgia's gonna bench Carson Beck.
yeah. I don't think. I think he'll
But
just stay where he's at, and they're just gonna ride him out.
yeah, I feel like they kind of have to at this point. But he's I'm just saying if he plays like he has been for multiple weeks in a row now, Tennessee 100% has a chance. But and they have the defense to make him play that way. It just really comes down to what can Tennessee's offense figure out and do against Georgia's really good defense. It's going to be a defensive battle. I would predict this game to be that game to be low scoring. But right now we're talking. I keep going back to Tennessee, and that's my fault. We're talking about Ole Miss and Georgia. Tyler, I'm echoing. But
Sorry, that's on me. I was sitting
no,
too
you're
close.
fine. You're fine. I'm still echoing. Um,
I'm
just
sorry.
every single thing.
Are you still echoing? I don't know how.
Anyways, do y'all have anything else to say on this game?
I mean, Ole Miss did exactly what I had a feeling they were going to do. I had listened to people and I've looked at the depth charts and stuff. And Ole Miss was top 5 in getting after the quarterback, and that's exactly what they did. They got after Carson Beck. They made him uncomfortable. They forced him to make bad reads, and so I think that was what the key thing was in that game, and especially with Ole Miss's offense. I know Lane Kiffin's a very good-minded offensive guy, because he's done it for years and years at multiple programs, and so I think it was a good combination for the mixture of the good defensive end or defensive line and the offense for that game.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm actually, yeah. Walter Nolan had a really good game. I remember he stood out to me in that game on the D line. But yeah, it's Ole Miss definitely helped themselves big time with that win. They have a rough loss to Kentucky. Um, is LSU their other loss? Who was
Yeah,
their other loss to? Yeah,
LSU.
LSU. Um, but this win can help overlook a lot of things. Georgia, on the other hand, now they're in a spot where they can't lose any more games, which is wild to think about right now. If they lose another game, Georgia's out of the playoffs. So every game's an elimination for Georgia at this point. And depending on how everything goes, they could still make the. If they win out, it's still possible for them to make the SEC championship. So that's kind of crazy too. Like if they win out and then lose the SEC championship, I wonder if that would like affect anything. Georgia and Ole Miss. The point is, they both control their own destiny at this point. If they win, more than likely they're both in. So
Well, the
uh,
thing is, Dylan, is that Georgia's this is this week against Tennessee is their last SEC game of the year, and then they play UMass,
yeah,
and then they play Georgia Tech. So, I mean, I feel like for Georgia this week is obviously it's a must win, but I feel like they if they play like they did last Saturday, I mean they are in trouble, buddy.
yeah. Well, we'll just have to see. Um, we all the next game we all got wrong. Um, we all predicted Iowa State to win that game. They lost to Kansas. We thought Iowa State would bounce back. They just straight up did not. They,
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. I did not watch this game at all because I thought I was like, okay, you look at it, Iowa State, Kansas wasn't like record wise wasn't a solid pick to to upset Iowa State, and I didn't know that I didn't even know they lost until JP was like, "Hey, yeah, I haven't got a single game right," and I was like, "Who lost?" And he was like, "Well, Iowa State lost," and I was like,
Well, it's
"It
actually
just
crazy is because that was the Kansas team that was supposed to be here all season.
yeah,
Like that, like because Kansas, I think they were preseason ranked like 19 or something to start
yeah,
the
something like
season,
that."
and so just see that now. I think we're in week 11. It was kind of shocking to finally have for it to click for them. So I was definitely mind blown when I saw the score of that game, especially how well Iowa State's defense has been playing all season.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, they got 45 dropped on their heads. So that
Yeah,
unfortunately for the Big 12, you can't have two losses. So that's the end of Iowa State's playoff hopes, in my opinion. They're going to put a two-loss SEC team in over a two-loss Big 12 team every day of the week. Um, so now Colorado and BYU are the Big 12's um, only hope at this point. So one
yeah,
of them obviously will make it in because it's a auto bid system, but yeah, they're not going to get any extra teams added into the playoffs with that many losses, and especially with an unranked loss like that. That's just not going to help out their case. But anywho, yeah, I didn't watch it either. But next game, Virginia Tech and Clemson. You boys actually, y'all picked the Hokies in that one, and me and Drew, we picked Clemson. Drew, if you're out there, good looks with me. Um, Clemson, I'm pretty sure they started out down like 10-0. Virginia Tech scored the first 10 points of the game, and then they didn't really do anything else after the first 10 points. I think they were up 14-0.
No,
Let me see.
so I actually watched that game.
No, they were up 7-0. Yeah,
Yeah, Virginia Tech scored. They blanked Clemson out in the first
yeah,
half, and then they could never get the offense going. So then Clemson finally just was able to wear down that defense.
yeah. I must have been. I don't know what game I'm thinking of at this point. Then there was someone that was up 10-0 over. Oh, it was Texas Tech. I'm sorry, I was thinking of the wrong game. But and we'll talk about that. Uh, actually, no, we won't. Anyways, but well, I guess I'll talk about it now. The game I was talking about, Texas Tech scored the first 13 points of the game, and then Colorado just started doing whatever, and I just got my games mixed up. But anyways, yeah, Clemson um, wasn't a blowout win by any means, only 24-14, but it was enough to get the job done. Oh, Jared, I can't wait to.
Oh,
Uh,
buddy, you just wait. You might actually see a vein pop out of my neck tonight.
yeah. So next, we're just gonna roll through this one too. We all kind of said we expected Army to win this game. It was a little closer than I thought. We all did say 2.5 was too low, and that stood true. They won by 11. Um, I mean, I don't think Army is going to be upset at this point in time. They just need to win. I think it would have looked better on their part, and they only moved up one spot in the polls because of how close it was. But yeah, Army took care of business, got the win. That's all that matters at this point in time. They just need to get some more style points. That's what they need to look for in the year. Um, Jacob, me and you picked South Carolina to
Go
beat old
Cox.
Vandy. Yeah, we picked the Cox, baby, and the Cox won. So um, they knocked down them doors.
Yeah,
Oh,
man,
Jared's comments
there
crazy.
really isn't much to add on to that one. South Carolina just did exactly what we expected them to do.
Yeah,
Vanderbilt
I
looked
thought
like
it would be a little
Vanderbilt.
closer. Yeah, I thought it would be closer just because of how Vanderbilt played, but this is the Vandy team everyone expected, and they just decided to poke their heads this week. I don't know. This was the worst. This was the worst they've looked all season. Um, even in their loss to Georgia State, like they didn't look this bad. So, but you know, that game makes me feel a lot better about when Tennessee goes and plays them. And speaking of Tennessee against Mississippi State, the score, in my opinion, the score looks worse than what the game was. Like it looks. I don't feel like we've dominated them as much as we should have, personally. Obviously, we were missing Nico the whole second half, but
Did they ever say what his upper body injury was, or did they just keep it like
They're
upper
putting
body?
him through concussion protocol.
yeah,
Did he? You said they are doing that, or they did do that?
Yeah, they're putting him through concussion protocol this week.
Well, Josh Heupel said that
Yeah, well,
he
I
should
got
be
a, I got a
playing.
notification today that he was getting put through concussion protocol. That's why he didn't play the second half.
Well,
that makes
He
a
should
difference.
he should be fine.
Yeah,
should should be. I mean, I don't know. It
yeah.
just
They
we can't go into Georgia with a backup quarterback as our starting quarterback.
yeah. Well, and especially with our backup doesn't look Gaston Moore. I love him to death because he's exciting to watch because he slings it. He
He
goes
does.
out there and he's not just gonna he's gonna go for it, and I love that. But it's just he's not the best. But hopefully Nico's healthy and we don't have to worry about that. But they did their job. They picked up a good win over Mississippi State. Wish it was had more style points with that to kind of hope like impress the polls more because it seems like they're going to need that. But yeah, either way, uh, we'll see. But
It just,
yeah,
I will say though, before Nico got hurt, it looked like the offense was finally starting to click and get on that groove. I mean, you had Dylan Sampson who was out, and so that takes away a big part of your game, and then you have to go in there and try and reinvent the wheel of like, okay, we have to trust our receivers right here. And I mean, there were still some questionable things that were done in that game with receivers and Nico throwing the ball. And I mean, once again, he is still a freshman, so like,
yeah,
but all around, I wasn't I was okay. I wasn't happy, but I was very okay with how he has progressed, and he looked a little bit better than he did in the past couple weeks. Um, but
yeah. They Dylan Sampson needs to just his whole practice week this week. He needs to be holding the footballs, and if he lets go of it, he needs to sleep with the football in his arms. And if the football drops at any point, there needs to be some kind of punishment, like a shot caller type thing. Because he can't fumble next week.
Kinky.
They got to play a clean game. And Jared is hating on Nico right now.
yeah,
I
seriously.
don't know what Nico has done, but
I mean,
he'll be fine.
yeah, what is it? What is
But
that? 3 straight fumbles in 3 straight games or something like that.
Yeah.
And
and those are
it seems like it's coming on like the first drive every single time too.
yeah, well, those are the only 3 fumbles of his career
Yeah,
also, and they've all been in 3 straight games in his junior year. So I don't know where he's got to get that out of his system now. Um, this is not the time of the year that needs to be happening. He needs to cut that out. Um, but I think he'll be fine. He's still really good, obviously, and now he's having the best single season uh, a running back has ever had for Tennessee. So we'll I guess take a couple of fumbles if he's gonna do what he's doing, but He just needs to stop fumbling the ball. Anyways, y'all have any last thoughts on that? No.
No,
Okay.
I think it was just good to
Well-
see Tennessee back in the win column.
Yeah.
Well, okay. My before we get any further, Zach had asked a question earlier. Like, if Georgia beats Tennessee this week, how do you? I don't. He asked how who gets into the playoffs at that point, and I know we were talking about it a little bit before we started. It just
We can. I feel like we can answer that when we do the full talk about
Yeah.
the new rankings as a whole, if
That's
you
fine.
want.
Yeah, that's fine. We can do that.
Because we only have a couple more games before we get into that, anyways, and we can kind of talk scenarios when we're going in depth with that. Too. I
Yeah.
saw that question. Um, I didn't mean to kind of shut you
Yeah,
down right there, but
I was just
I
acknowledging.
saw it,
the
but
fact that- yeah.
yeah, I saw it. I should have said something when I did see it, but I was planning on bringing that up when we are going to go in depth on the top 25. But game that we all got wrong, and I don't think any of us expected it to go the way it did. Alabama, I mean, there's not much you can say about it other than they just steamrolled LSU. Jalen Milroe, I mean, he ran as much as he wanted to, and I mean, he just there was nothing LSU was going to do to stop him that day. And I think that's the Jalen Milroe that I'm glad we haven't seen it all year, because that Jalen Milroe would have beat Tennessee by a lot. But I don't know where that version of him has been all season. Because he's capable. Obviously, he's capable of that, but he's been capable of it all year. I don't understand where that has been the whole year, because that's what he was his entire career, and then this year it feels like he got completely away from that, and then finally that's his strongest weapon.
Yeah.
Drew made a good point when we talked about it on Friday. If you go back and look at all the games they played, South Carolina, Texas A&M, and uh, Tennessee, you look at that, they're all containing the quarterback. They're not letting him do whatever he wants willingly. Now, for LSU, on the instance, when you go back and look at that game, whenever they had Connor for the first half, they shut him down because he's a pocket passer. But as soon as they switched to that backup quarterback that could scramble like Milroe, they couldn't guard him for nothing, and he
Yeah.
ran all over them. So I think A&M gave, I would say, Alabama the ticket to just blow the brakes off of LSU, and which they did. I think, what did he have? 4 rushing touchdowns and over 150 yards. So
Yeah.
I mean, A&M gave him the golden ticket on how to beat him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's not really much else we can say at that point. I mean, Jalen Milroe single-handedly beat LSU. Like if you only had his rushing touchdowns and rushing plays, that was enough to beat LSU that day, because uh, their defense shut him down as well. So what they only gave up 13 points. So Jalen Milroe by himself beat them 28-13 just with rushing touchdowns alone. So um, that's just pretty much all there is to say about that game.
Yeah.
Another one. Missouri beats Oklahoma. Neither of these teams are great. So this is another one I don't personally care. I don't have much to talk about for
Did you
this
see
one.
how
I
it
mean,
ended?
no, I didn't. So yeah, maybe you can talk about that.
So Oklahoma has the ball. They're down. I think it's 20-13 at this time. They do a trick play. They throw it back to the quarterback. He runs it in for a touchdown. So it's 20-20. Mizzou has the ball now. They go down. They fumble it. Oklahoma takes it back. So they're up 27-20. Mizzou, I think with like 50 seconds left, drives down the field. They make a spectacular play in the end zone. They tie the game 27-27. Oklahoma gets the ball. Very first play, scoop and score. Missouri gets the touchdown to go ahead, and they end up winning the game off the scoop and score. So there was 2 scoops and scores after the team scored, and that's literally how it happened the last 3 minutes of the game.
And they're two bad football teams, so I don't expect nothing less
I mean,
for something crazy like that to happen.
yeah, I didn't watch this game, and I could care less who won that game, and
Missouri is, and that's what this is what I'm saying. I haven't paid much attention to the rankings. Um, we're gonna talk about it, but I am curious to see where Missouri is in this new one because I mentioned it last or on Saturday or Friday on Friday that Missouri is going to benefit from being ranked 24. They're going to win this and they're going to move up when they shouldn't even be in the top 25 to begin with. And now they're just going to be even higher. And that's my prediction. I don't know how much higher they're going to be, but I know they're not 24 anymore because that's where Army is. So that means they moved up somewhere. I just hope it's not anything too crazy. But and last but not least, Penn State. They got the win over Washington, and this was in dominating fashion as well for Penn State, 35-6. Um, we all picked Penn State, so that's good. None of us were fools there, and this is another game. There's just not much to say. Penn State just kind of bullied Washington the whole game. I think it's safe to say that's a good assumption on what exactly happened there. Penn State bounced back good. I just don't understand where these games are when they play someone that's like good. Like where are these performances? I'm not saying they should have beat Ohio State 35-6, but like the way they played against Washington would have won them the game against Ohio State, even in a close game. Like, but they just aren't capable of doing that. But um, do you want to talk about the top 25, the new
Yes.
college football
Yeah.
playoff polls? Um, and we'll kind of just go over it first, and then we'll go back and answer. Was it Zach that asked, or was it Jared?
Yeah. It
it
Yeah,
was
was
we'll
Zach.
answer Zach's question after we kind of just break it down a little bit. It looks like to me the biggest changes Georgia fell to number 12. Um, Indiana and BYU both jumped. Notre Dame and Tennessee and Miami, obviously. Miami lost. They fell from 4 to 9. Um, let's see, anything else crazy that's pointing out? Colorado's now in the top 20. They're at 17. Um, oh, good. Missouri only went up one spot. That's good. Okay, I can feel better about that. Army also only went up one spot. I'm still not happy with that. But nothing else. I feel like everything else is kind of expected or accurate. South Carolina's ranked 21 now. Um, and LSU only dropped to 22. I feel that's actually kind of shocking to me too. I feel like they should be 25 probably if they're still in there. But what's something that stands out to you all boys? Tyler, we can start with you. Who's the team you're looking at that top 25 right now, and you're sitting there and you're thinking to yourself, what right now, off the dome, why is that team ranked as high as they are? Who is someone that you're like questioning to yourself, why is this team ranked that high? Off the dome.
off the dome,
Off the dome.
off the
You're
dome.
looking at it right now. Why are they ranked that high? It just baffles you of why they're ranked that high. Come on, Tyler. It's off the dome. You're supposed to be off the dome right
I
here. You're
know,
taking
I
too
know, I
long.
know, I know, I know, I know, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm still gonna stick with Ohio State. I don't think that they should be. I don't. I feel like Ohio State is just going to see. That's why. See, you're laughing. So that's why I was looking at it because I said Ohio State. My first gut was to go with Ohio State, but then
Okay,
I was
well,
like, you know what? They beat Penn State, and Penn State, like Jared said, has been choke artists for years, and it's just yeah. And
okay.
Jared said Miami, which I could see Miami too, and it's just I don't know, man. I guess
Jared,
it,
where would you have Miami ranked? Sorry to cut you off, Tyler.
no, you're good. It's just I don't know, man.
I'm not mad at Ohio State. So you think? Oh, I mean, so what?
I would have to agree with Jared, and I would have to say Ohio State and Miami. Like
Okay,
Miami should have been dropped lower, and
okay,
I think that they should have probably been around the. Well, I wouldn't have them in the top 10. I would probably say that they would stay. They would go. maybe
Yeah.
11 or 12.
No. Okay. Well, hold up. I'm about to ask you a question, Tyler. Jared, where do you think? Okay. Okay. Wait. Wait. Are you saying Miami mid-15s? That was a lot to unpack right there, Jared. There was a lot of messages.
Yeah,
I don't know if you're talking about Penn State, Notre Dame, or Miami in the mid-15s or 16, 17. But while we're waiting on Jared's answer, Tyler, you're saying Ohio State. Like, where would you have Ohio State ranked if 2 is too high? Like, are you saying they should just be number 3? Because I don't think you can drop them any further
yeah,
from.
I would. I think I would just flip flop Texas and Ohio State. I mean,
Okay, that's what I was wondering. So they're not like
like
crazy
crazy.
too high. You just think they're one
No,
spot too high.
yeah, it.
Okay, well, who's the team, Jacob? Okay, Miami midfield. Yeah. Um, Miami definitely. The thing that's tricky about Miami is like if they still win the conference, they're going to be an automatic bid, and they're going to be one of those teams that get the first round bye anyways, no matter whether they should or not be ranked that high. Like they're going to be a first round bye team if they win their championship. So like it doesn't even matter for them at this point. Like if they're ranked 9 or if they're ranked 15, because they're still the highest ACC team, and if they win the championship, then they would still be up there. Yeah, I was kind of talking about that. I think it was our first attempt, Jared, about Penn State, and then Jacob, I'm going to ask you a question after I just make this comment to Jared. Um, I was saying, uh, if Indiana and BYU jump Tennessee, then I think they should also jump Penn State. I don't know if I would put them out of the top 10, but I would definitely say they should be ranked below Indiana and BYU at this point in time. And then it's a conversation of like which one lost team at that point between Notre Dame, Miami, and Tennessee and Penn State. Like which one of those four, like in what order do you want to put them? But if you're gonna move Indiana and BYU up above Tennessee and Notre Dame, then I feel like you should also you might as well move them up above Penn State. But yeah, I don't know. Jacob, off the dome, you're looking at it. Which one of these teams are ranked way too high for your liking? You're confused. Doesn't make sense. What is going on? Why are they there?
I mean, Jared kind of took it a little bit. I'd say Penn State. They haven't really played anybody notable besides Ohio State, and we saw what they did. And and the only reason I say notable is because I say it very loosely. I think that's their only big ranked game in their schedule. Yes, they have a win against Illinois, but Illinois, we saw what happened in Illinois. They got the brakes beat off by Oregon, and then they've kind of fallen off the face of the earth. And so,
Yeah.
Penn State is doing what they do every single season. I don't think James Franklin is a big guy for those big wins for them
Yeah.
because if you go back, he's historically terrible against top 10 teams. And for a team you're wanting in the college football playoffs, I don't think Penn State's that team just because they can't win the big game. It's that simple, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna answer. I'm gonna respond to that and then answer Jared's last question that he just asked. But the thing is, I don't think Penn State's going anywhere just for the sake of they don't play anyone else this year. They're gonna win out, and at this point in time, like it's the Big Ten championship. It's either going to be, well, unless Ohio State loses, it'll be an Oregon Ohio State rematch, right? I don't think Penn State can get into it unless Ohio State loses again because they've got the head-to-head. Um, well, I guess Indiana. I forgot about it. It depends on what happens this week, I guess. Uh, yeah, never mind. I'm just ignoring Indiana for some reason, but that'll be interesting. The Big Ten's just as competitive as the SEC right now. It's kind of crazy to see what's going on in that conference as well. But I just don't think Penn State has the tough schedule that's gonna like. I don't see them losing again until the playoffs, and maybe the playoffs will be one of those things that they get further put on fraudulent alert. But
Yeah, But I mean,
I think Penn State's going to be in it.
my question is for the committee: is why did it take so long for them to get Indiana into the top 10, but they left Penn State in the top 5, even with them losing to Ohio State. Indiana was proven week in, week out. They were just beating the brakes off of everybody. I think they had several weeks of scoring over 40 points. Penn State struggled to put up 35 against Kent State and all these other schools. It's like, just because the name's bigger, I don't understand why they still have to rank them as high.
Well, and that's the crazy thing. That's it's great for Indiana because they have a real good opportunity this week. They can just end all the debate this week and beat Ohio State at home, at Indiana. I just threw my pen across the room. Um, they can beat Ohio State at home, and Indiana instantly becomes the number 2 team in the country. At that point, they would jump Texas. That would jump them over Texas and Penn State. Just that alone. So Indiana's in a good spot where they can prove. I don't even know where that pin went. That's gonna bother me. Doesn't even matter. They can control their destiny. What scares me for them, because of what you just said. I agree. It took the committee so long. I'm terrified of how far they would drop if they lose to Ohio State. That's the part that scares me. Unless it's a close game. Sorry, it's just me casually looking for my pen still. But Jared, to answer your question about Notre Dame, I think me and you have a little bit different opinions on Notre Dame. I agree. In previous years, Notre Dame has the mercy of an easy schedule, and here recently, in the last 10 years, when they get that big matchup, they get blown out. This year, I think it's slightly different, just for the sake of they lost to Northern Illinois. That's a problem. That's a terrible loss. But for big game purpose wise, they beat a really good Texas A&M team on the road at Texas A&M to start the season. They beat a still currently ranked and good Louisville team, and they just absolutely dog walked an undefeated Navy team at Navy. Um, and then, Florida State, everyone's beating them, but they're doing what they're supposed to against the smaller competition, except for Northern Illinois. But here's that sneeze I was waiting on, boys. Oh no, it went away. Okay. 52-3 over Florida State.
This guy's
the
hammered.
point is, this season, Notre Dame, I think, they're winning those big matchups, and they've had a tougher schedule. And I didn't realize, they still play Army this year. I hate that for Army. That's a game that I feel like Army is wishing they didn't have scheduled right now, unless they beat Notre Dame. But that's another big game for Notre Dame. They still play USC for rivalry week. USC isn't as good this year as they were supposed to be, but that's still a big matchup. And then they have Virginia this week. But I don't know. I think Notre Dame has proven a little bit more going into the playoffs this year. Yeah, no, I agree about FSU, but they do have massive wins over Texas A&M, Louisville, and Navy. And quite honestly, like, if they didn't have that loss to Northern Illinois, I think Notre Dame's your number 2 team in the country right now. Because they have a stronger resume than a lot of these other teams this year. It's just they have that massive blemish in Northern Illinois. But
I don't know if y'all remember though. After when we talked about the game, Notre Dame and Northern Illinois, and if you, because I remember saying this to you, is that Notre Dame was going to find their way back into the playoffs, and they just had that one blemish, like you said, Dylan. But it's a huge one. But they they've played lights out since then, and they're playing good football right now. Will they continue to do it in the postseason? It just depends on on matchups and who is going to play who when. And as of right now, it's set to be Notre Dame and Tennessee at Tennessee.
Yeah.
And so that's another SEC environment that is not easy to play in at all. And
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those cool things like that we're gonna see this year. Um, I'm excited because it is a bigger bracket. Um, it's gonna really show you if these teams are gonna show up or not in these big matchups. Because now like all these teams like Notre Dame's the past few years, Jared, what you're talking about, how like they're overrated and everything, and like there's always that fifth team that's like, I should have been there over Notre Dame. Well, now this year, they're going to get that chance to prove it. And now, unfortunately, there's always going to be that 13th team that's like, I should have been there over the number, the 12th ranked team or the 11th. That's never going to change. Like, there's still going to be someone that feels like they're screwed. But at that point, that's their own fault. They shouldn't have lost 3 games to make it to where they're ranked number 13 instead of. So that's their own fault. Like, it's a lot. I feel like it should be more acceptable to not be in the top 12 for this than the top, because the past few years, you had to either go undefeated or only have one loss. And if there was 4 one-loss teams, one of them felt like they were going to get screwed, or an undefeated Florida State team last year. That will never happen again. Like now, a 3-loss team is going to be the one that gets left out that they feel like, or possibly a 2-loss team. But at that point, I'll use our favorite team as an example, Tennessee. If they get left out, it's their fault. They shouldn't have lost to Arkansas. It's as simple as that. If they didn't lose to Arkansas, they wouldn't even have to worry about that right now. They'd be sitting here right now knowing, win or lose to Georgia, if that's the only loss, and they wouldn't have to worry about right now. If they were undefeated playing Georgia this week, they're number 2 in the country because they were number 4 when they lost to Arkansas. So it's their own fault at this point, and I think that's the beauty of the 12-team playoff is like teams can no longer say we got screwed. You lost multiple games to be left out at this point. So it's not the committee's fault at this point for the 13th. So that's the beauty of it is these Notre Dame teams that have been overrated in years past, they're really gonna get a chance to show like, okay, are they overrated or are they not? And Notre Dame's not the only one. Penn State too.
Well,
This
my
will be
thing
Penn
with
State's
Notre
first
Dame,
time in the playoffs.
my thing with Notre Dame is that they're not even in a conference.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
if you're that scared to join a conference because you can't make it to the conference championship, then what's the point? Like, seriously, you're a big enough school. You play almost half your season in the ACC. It's like join the conference. Everybody else in their athletic department is in the ACC.
Yeah.
Except
No.
football. That's the only program they don't have in a conference.
I 100%
Yeah.
agree with that, JP. That's spot on. Like it, I mean, they just don't. Like you said, they play almost all ACC teams, and then every other sport in their school is ACC. So why not just go ahead and be like, we're just going to go in the ACC? Because I mean, then we'd be looking in the ACC. What we'd be looking at a Miami and Notre Dame ACC championship if that were to play out the way it is right now.
But see, they did it during COVID, and they did, I guess, fairly well during that COVID year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they got forced to go get put in that conference for the year. So I don't know why they can't stay in that conference. If not, join the Big Ten. You
Yep.
already know you
No.
play half of those teams too. So that's
Now,
that's
and
just my issue with them.
yeah, now I do agree with the conference championship part, but I will say for their schedule as a whole, and I did kind of say this a second ago, I feel like they did a better job this year of giving themselves a harder schedule than what they normally do in years past. Normally it feels like they kind of pick and choose, like they pick their battles on which ACC teams they schedule. But this year, they opened up the season at Texas A&M, who is one of the best teams in the SEC this year. Um, they played Purdue, which Purdue's not having a great year, but that's a Big Ten team. They smoked them 66-7.
They're 0-6 in conference and 1 and
Yeah,
8 overall.
they right. I know, but I'm just saying. And then they beat a really good Louisville team this year. Stanford and Georgia Tech, those are bottom tier ACC teams. Well, Georgia Tech isn't, but Stanford is. Georgia Tech's like kind of middle of the pack. They beat Navy. Florida State, I think at the time, they scheduled Florida State. Florida State was supposed to be a top 10 team in the country. Unfortunately, that schedule got easier. They didn't expect no one shouldn't have expected Florida State to be 1-9 at this point in the season. I don't think we can blame Notre Dame at that point for scheduling this Florida State team. No one expected that kind of a fall off from 12-1 to 1-9. That's kind of just wild.
Yeah.
And then they have Army and USC. USC Big Ten. Well, that's their rivalry week. They play them every year, obviously. But
Yeah, but my thing is still on that. Yes, your quote unquote notable win is Texas A&M. Congrats. That's a really good win. You went to College Station. You beat Texas A&M. Your next 3 out of the 4 are against 2 military branches, and then Louisville. Like, I get it. Army's really good. They're 9-0, but
yeah,
this isn't basketball where you can I can get Colgate to beat Kentucky or St. Peter's to beat Kentucky. Like they get to go on and go to the next round. Like it's just I think the weight value there, especially with that loss to Northern Illinois. Northern Illinois is like 4-5 now. Like they won that game against Notre Dame and then they fell off the map. Like they could not figure it out.
Wasn't Northern Illinois ranked after that game too? Like
Yeah.
wasn't it like 24, 25?
And then they went on a 3 or 4 game losing streak.
Yeah.
So I can understand if Northern Illinois was at the top of the MAC and they're just beating everybody in the MAC, but they're dog water in the MAC right now.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I know I sound like a Notre Dame defender right now. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying this year comparatively to the past few years, I think you can't deny they've given themselves a tougher schedule than what they have. And like I just said too, like Florida State was not supposed to be as terrible as they are this year. This Florida State team was supposed to be a top 10 team. They didn't know that they were scheduling just a cupcake in that game at the time. Couldn't have known that they were scheduling a cupcake because again, I don't think it's possible to predict Florida State going from being undefeated in the regular season last year to now they have one win against Cal, and that's their only win on the year. And then they're just getting stomped by everyone else. But I'm just saying, like, overall, I think scheduling wise, it hasn't been the same story where it's just like they've literally played nobody. Like they've played some people, and like the thing is, like, yeah, I know the Army and Navy, like they're military schools and they're the thing, but that's the thing about this year though, is like one of those teams are possibly going to be in the playoffs regardless. Like so, like that they're one of them will probably be a playoff team, even if it is, like your comparison to basketball for Colgate, but like they're a team like Army or Navy for every single year here on out is going to be in the playoffs. So like they happen to schedule a team has one of the best shots to be in the playoffs representing the group of 5 teams. So, but yeah, I don't want to talk too much more on Notre Dame because I'm sounding like I care too much about them and I don't. But I'm just saying I think this team is a little bit different, but the loss to Northern Illinois is undeniably inexcusable. But yeah.
Well, before we go on to anything else, this is going to be very short and sweet. If you were to look at the bracket right now, if college football ended today, and that was the bracket that we're going to get, you would have Notre Dame playing Tennessee, and then the winner of that game has to play Oregon. So if Notre Dame were to be this great team that everybody thinks that they are, if they go in, they beat Tennessee, okay, cool. Like that could be a good win for them. But then it really would show if they're a good team if they can go in and beat Oregon as well. But I like me personally, I just don't see that happening. If it were to end today, obviously we still have 3 weeks left. It just
Well, I think at that point in time, like if you're in the playoffs, any win is a good win. Like it doesn't have to be like, oh, well, you beat the first round matchup, but that doesn't really prove anything. I think at that point in time, like every single win would be like a good win. 'Cause like I don't think, if okay, so the bracket right now, if Indiana beats Alabama, like is that not a good win for Indiana to beat Alabama in
no,
the
that's like that's not what I was saying. I was just adding to the Notre Dame
Yeah.
thing. Like every win, no matter if it's the first seed or if it's the 12th seed, whoever wins, it's like it's a good win, and
Yeah.
that moves them forward.
No.
And
I think the conversation to be had now, if this new format comes out and Notre Dame gets killed in their first matchup, then yeah, I think it's fair to say, okay, well, this is just the exact same thing that happens to them every year if they just get smacked. But that's the great thing too, I guess. Notre Dame will never have a first round bye in this format. Like until they join a conference, Jacob, they will never get the free pass of like, okay, you don't have to play in the first round. So they're doing that to themselves at least. Like not joining it, they're gonna have to play the max playoff games, and then in my opinion, that should like incentivize them to
yeah, I was
they
about to.
they would run they would run the ACC with how bad the ACC is this year. Um,
I
like
was.
I
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. I'll let you
So,
finish. You're
like, I
asking.
think they would probably have that first round bye this year if they were in the conference. So I think they're only hurting themselves not being in a conference this season of all seasons. Because as we've talked about, this Miami team is not as good as they s- are ranked to be. But
Yeah.
this Miami team's going to get a first round bye because the rest of the ACC is just worse. Um,
Yeah. So
so
let me ask you this: If do you think with with how the playoff format is now, do you think this just only pushes Notre Dame to join a conference? And like this is, do you think that this is like they have to join now, or like him getting up and leaving just made me lose my train of thought on that question. But like, you get what I'm saying? To where like, does it push them to finally join that conference, and then we don't see any more non-conference college football teams?
I think it would take like either maybe someone gets hurt or like they have some injuries and hopefully I'm not wishing that on them or like trying to jinx
Yeah,
them on that, but like they have to play that extra game if they have some injuries that really affects their second playoff game. Like let's just scenario wise, let's say they win their first playoff game but they lose their starting quarterback to injury and everything, and now they're drastically um, handicapped in that second game. Well, they wouldn't have had to play that first game if they were in a conference and had that bye. So, like, if something like that happens, I could see where they're like, okay, we need to join a conference so that way the first game is eliminated if we just win the conference
yeah,
outright. Now, but at the same time, they could be like, I mean, Tyler, you played in AIA. It's the Lewis and Clark effect almost. Like, they automatically got in. They could view it that way, like, okay, if we're not in a conference, we just have to win like we have been, and we'll just be in the playoffs every single year no matter what. We just will accept the fact we'll be in it and not get that bye versus okay, let's join a conference. They have to pick between that, like do we want to have like a better chance of just making the playoffs, or do we want to join a conference, possibly not make it as often, but when we do, we're probably going to have that first round bye. That's what they're going to have to like pick between.
yeah. And it's just gonna be what matters most to them. Do
Yeah.
they want that first round bye, or do they not? And
Yeah.
if they don't get that first round bye, then they have a potential of
Yeah.
having to go to these places to go play in their first game of the playoffs, which
Yeah.
is at that point you're playing. You're whoa, what is it? First, like I don't know what I was saying, but like you're having to go play in these hard environments to get that first win instead of going and what is it? The second round's a neutral site, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or is it?
I'm
Yeah.
pretty
So
sure.
like it just they have to weigh their options and see which one is more important to them, like you said.
Yeah. But well, do y'all have anything else college-wise that y'all want to talk about before we move on to the NFL?
I'm good with college. I'm ready to
Good.
talk about these picks that I still sucked in this week. So
Oh, don't worry, I beat you in it.
Yeah. So yeah, another thing, and I know our viewers have been ready if they're still here. They haven't commented in a while. Jared, I'm sorry, that
they're
was a
still
long
here.
answer to your question, but I feel like we gave an in-depth response to it. But Jacob, you went 1-5, 1-4-5. Tyler, you went 2-for-5, and once again, pat on the back for me. I went 4-for-5. I forgot to mention though, the standings for college. Um, Jacob, you're still leading. You have 42 points. I'm in
Somehow.
second now with 40, and Tyler, you're back to last with 38. I caught up to you this week, and
Hey,
then
we still got 3 weeks to go, buddy.
for NFL, Jacob, you're still 3 weeks. What are you? Oh, for college, yeah.
Yeah, for
For
college.
NFL, Jacob, you're in first with 23. I'm in second with 20. Tyler, you're also in last in the NFL with 17. But
Heck yeah, I went 1-5 and I'm still in first. Let's go.
this is Tyler. You're actually the most consistent out of us, though.
Hey,
You are you have not had a week worse than 2. You have not had a week better than 3. So you either go 2-for-5 or 3-for-5 every single week.
2.5
And
average, baby.
yeah, so yeah,
sounds like
look,
my GPA in that
yeah.
Jackson State.
So I
Might
just
want to
wanted to
keep
throw
that
that
rolling
out
down
there,
low.
but yeah. So we'll just start going through our picks. I think today. I mean, if y'all have something on these specific games, then you can. But we can just like talk about our picks, but then really just dive into like our favorite teams if y'all want to. Do y'all want to do that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay. So
But
we're
I
not
didn't
gonna.
really watch much of the games
Yeah.
besides the Lions Texans.
Yeah,
Right.
the
So
only game I really watched was the Lions and Texans. So
yeah. So start us off, Tyler. Me and you. This is actually one you got right, Tyler. We got the 49ers to beat the Buccaneers. Um, there's only one play I want to talk about. That was Drew's only game that he got right, by the way. He went 1-for-5 as well. He picked the 49ers to win. Um, did y'all see Baker's stiff arm on on Nick Bosa? And like he also like he was stiff arming him and actively stiff arming him. He threw the ball and he got a completion. And it was like with a minute left in the game. It was like on fourth down it was like fourth and 8, and he was like actively stiff arming him and throwing it at the same time. It was I'll send that to y'all so y'all can see that. It was pretty
Baker's just
wild.
a dog.
Here, actually, you know what? No. I'm gonna. Sorry, if y'all want to add something else to that while I send this to you. Oh, it's right here. Here you go.
Well, while you're sending that, I'm just gonna say that um, the kicking game for the 49ers has kind of been atrocious. But Moody hit the game winner, but
Well, it was his
he
first
missed
week back from injury.
yeah, and he missed two previous to that one. So
Yeah, I just sent y'all that. I sent y'all 2 versions of that. If y'all want to watch it now, um, I want to see y'all's live reaction to this. So I'm kind of hoping that y'all watch it now. I'm just gonna kind of keep going with the picks while y'all watch that, just to talk about these other ones. Yeah, everyone. Yeah. uh, yeah. I mean, he was just straight up stiff arming him and got a completion in the middle of.
what
Nice.
a
I've never
catch
seen that.
though!
Yeah, and that was fourth down with a minute to go in the game, like game on the line type of shit. It was crazy. Um, And then yeah, so I was the only person that picked the Pittsburgh Steelers to beat the Commanders. Um, it's kind of one of those things. Like I kind of felt it. It's just the Steelers have been there before. Commanders are still a young team, and I don't think it was a knock on the Commanders. I still think Jaden Daniels is great. I just feel like they are overperforming anyways for what they were supposed to be. They're beating those easy teams. Their losses this year have been to those playoff caliber teams, and I'm not saying the Commanders are frauds. I'm just saying like it's gonna take some experience to beat those teams that are better and have the experience that they don't, and that's fine. They're gonna get that as they keep playing. But
And
yeah,
did you speaking of the experience? Did you see that how the Steelers won the game, where Russell Wilson got that dude to jump off sides?
yeah,
It was like what, fourth and
yeah,
one, fourth and two, or something like that. And
yeah. It's just one of those things. Like it's they're and the Commanders played good.
yeah,
It's just
it's just one of those things. As a D lineman, you in that situation, you have to know that Russell Wilson is coming up to the line and he is going to try and get you to jump, and that is his sole purpose in that. And I think everybody knew that. Even the guy that jumped off sides, he knew it, and I think it's a learning experience because that dude's a rookie too.
yeah,
So it's not like he's a seasoned vet and he did that. Like,
right. Yeah, no, I agree, and that's just one of those things. Like that's Russell Wilson. Love him, hate him. He's been in this league a long time. He's won a Super Bowl. He knows what it takes, and he's playing some of his best football that he's played in multiple years at this point. Um, Next game, I'm the only one. This is kind of going indirectly with Jared's comment. I am the only person that picked the Cardinals to beat the Jets. You all thought the Jets would win.
never,
I
never
thought,
again,
yeah,
never again will I pick the Jets.
I thought the Cardinals would win. I did not know they were just going to go out there and smoke the Jets as bad as they did. That was a blowout if I've ever seen one. And yeah, I mean, this is Kyler. Kyler finally has some better weapons on his team. He's got now a true wide receiver one. Trey McBride is awesome at tight end. Love that dude. I've said it a few weeks ago. He's literally my tight end in every single fantasy league I play in, and I play in three. Um, the stuff is falling from the ceiling over there in Mr. Jacobs' room. I don't know what that was, but yeah, the Cardinals, they're definitely a sleeper team. I think that's fair to say at this point, and they're probably going to be a playoff team. Um, but yeah, I was the only one that got that right. All three of us picked the Lions to beat the Texans. Drew's obviously a Texans fan. His Texans lost, and that's crazy. They should not have, because Jared Goff, I don't know if y'all saw, he threw 5 interceptions in that game.
And he even came out and said he was like, I didn't even feel like I played that bad. And I mean, the Lions are the Lions are just a team that no matter what happens, they're gonna find that way to win.
Yeah,
And it was a good game. It was definitely a good game to watch.
yeah, uh, yeah, and it came down to a game-winning kick that, I mean, I that barely got through. It's crazy. That was, I'm sure, very stressful for them watching that, especially all fans of the Lions. And then the only game I got wrong, and we all got it wrong. I don't think any of us could have predicted the Saints were going to upset the Falcons. I mean, the Saints just
And I'm gonna be honest with you,
played good.
the Saints about gave it away. Kamara, he had a wide open. He would have scored a touchdown, and that would have sealed the game. And he it hit him in his hands, and he just dropped it. He had the I don't know who was covering him, but he had him beat by like 5 yards, and it was a walk in touchdown, and he just completely dropped it. And the they had to punt out right after that, and
Yeah,
Falcons just couldn't get it done.
well, that's what happens. But all right, boys. Well, time to just get into our favorite teams. There's some people in here that's been waiting on this. Jacob, we're gonna start with the Jags and the Vikings. There wasn't a whole lot in that game to talk about. It was what 13 to 9 was that the final score?
12-7.
12 to 7, yeah, something like that. Okay. Uh,
I mean, I was talking to Jared throughout the game. He thinks Mac Jones played terrible. I thought he played all right for it being his first start of the season. Um, Honestly, I blame Press Taylor for this and Doug Peterson, but I mainly blame Press Taylor for this. I mean, you look at his first half stats. Mac Jones is making a heck of a throws. He's improvising, extending drives. They go out and score, and then after that, defense played phenomenal. 4 picks against Kirk Cousins. Taylor just ran the ball, and then it'd get like 3rd and 15 because they made 2 consecutive terrible play calls and running, and then like, oh, okay, go out there and bail us out, Mac. Like, no, it's like you got this guy out of rhythm. It's like, so I would like to see them both gone by the end of the season. I think I've seen enough of the two of those two.
Yeah. Now, I actually agree. So, yeah, I mean, it looked like Sam Darnold was trying to give the Jags the win, because he played his worst game of the season. But I do agree. I agree with you and Jared. I think Mac played really good in the first half. Um, it seemed like they were calling plays timid, for Mac, but it was working in the first half. He was being a game manager, just needed to when Sam Darnold's throwing 4 picks, you don't need to go out there and do anything too crazy. You just need to do your job. And I feel like in the second half, the play calling was horrible, and then once it got into oh crap mode, then you need Mac Jones to go and win you the game, and that's not who Mac Jones is. Like, you can't have Mac Jones in a position where he has to be the one that goes and wins you the game, and that's what they were doing. They were like, okay, well let's just do whatever to just try not to lose. But now, oh crap, now we can't do that anymore because we are losing. Now we have to actually go and win. It's like you can't when you're winning, you need to keep trying to win, not just not try and lose, and that's what it felt like was happening. So I agree with you that coaching and play calling in the second half was just atrocious. But when it came time for Mac to need to win, to Jared's point, that's when he played horrible when they actually needed him to try and
Yeah.
win. But I don't fully blame Mac for that. Like, but he did look horrible when he was needed to go and win the football game. But that's not who Mac is, and that's what
Yeah,
the
but I mean,
coaches put
I
that
think it
on
was all
Mac.
rhythm. I think it
Yeah,
was all rhythm because you could tell he was comfortable in the first half. He was making plays. He was running the ball, which I was shocked to see that.
he was hyped up.
Uh, yeah, I mean, he was doing everything. He was all over the place, making great throws. And then second half rolls around, they stop throwing the football. It was run, 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 run. Oh, there's 12 people in the box. Okay, we're just gonna go after him, and then so yeah, I mean that was my only thoughts on it. I saw that change. It was like
Yeah,
it's like yeah, anybody can guard this. I can get him in 3rd and 12, and then just drop everybody.
yeah.
Okay, that's easy. Give me the ball back.
Oof.
So
Yeah. We will just have to see what they're gonna have to make some changes, or the season's just gonna get worse.
I mean it's already
For
gonna get
Pittsburgh.
worse. I just hope
I hope they
they.
make some changes because we play y'all twice. So,
Yeah, well, I'm ready to see Mr. Doug and Press. He can take Press Taylor with him because he's
yeah.
about as terrible as hot water.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Do you know who the Jags play this week?
I haven't looked, to be honest with
Okay.
you.
Well, I know the Titans play the Vikings this week, so I'll be
Oh no,
able
just
to.
kidding. They play the Lions.
Oh, yeah. Well,
That's a big fat L over there, right there,
just letting y'all
JP.
know,
Hey, you just sit quiet and you take that fed up to the Patriots while we beat them.
just letting y'all know, I just got like a notification in my headset that it's about to die, like probably in the next 15 minutes. So just giving y'all a heads up now that I've got about 15 minutes of my mic having life. Okay, but I'm just telling you. But so with that being said, I'm just gonna go straight into my Titans, and then that way you can talk about the Bears, and I don't have to talk as much. Let me just get through the Titans really quick. And this is actually gonna be shorter compared to some of my other rants. This was actually The best game Will Levis has had this season. He had his first game back since his injury. He missed 3 games. Um, he didn't. This is the first game this year he didn't have a turnover. Go Will. Um,
The Mayo Man.
no turnovers. He threw 2 touchdowns. Obviously, no picks. He only threw for 175 yards, and he had like 40 rushing yards, something like that. Um, I thought that they ran some designed runs for him this week, and those worked. Um, it's a little scary when your quarterback's coming back from an injury and you're calling designed runs, but it worked, and he didn't get hurt again, so that was good. But what concerned me was that was our first game of the season we didn't turn the ball over, and they still got smacked. So they, I feel like we gave the Chargers like not our best shot, but like as far as this season goes, we kind of gave them our best shot. Can, like in terms of what we've played like this year, and we still got dominated. And the final score, it was 27-17, but we got a garbage time touchdown. So like we only lost by 10, but that's just because we scored very late in the final minute to like bring it like a meaningless touchdown. So like the game wasn't as close as the scoreboard shows. Um, they uh, they still have a lot of issues, and the Will Levis got sacked 7 times. Um, 2 of those were credited to Will Levis, and then the right side of our line had is still horrible. That's the worst part. Calvin Ridley looks better, and I don't know. Defense just they didn't play their best, but I don't have that crazy of a rant on them. I mean, at this point, I've kind of lost hope for the year, but I thought that Will Levis, it was exciting to see he improved after the injury. I hope he just builds on that. It doesn't revert back to the beginning of the year. So that's what I'm looking for the Vikings. But Titans are 2-7. They're going to be 2-10 because they play the Vikings, then they play the Commanders, and then they play the Texans. That's just 3 losses in a row that's coming their way. So they're going to be 2-10 here in a few weeks. But I just want, again, same message. I just want to see the young guys show something promising, and then I want to see Will Levis hopefully just improve enough to where, because ideally Titans don't have to draft a quarterback. I think they're going to need to, but it would be the best thing for them if they don't have to. It would be the best thing for any team if you don't have to draft a quarterback every few years, obviously, but that's just not how it works sometimes.
Oh, really?
So yeah, so hopefully, yeah. But Tyler, yeah, so we can let you have the floor. I mean, this is back-to-back weeks of the Bears getting smacked. Am I right, boys? I mean, the Bears just got bullied. And, Tyler, I'll let you talk. Don't go too crazy with everything, but
The Bears have not scored a touchdown in 2 weeks. It is just to the point where it is getting out. It's just out of hand. And Caleb Williams got sacked 9 times this weekend against a Patriots team that is not good at all.
the Titans beat the Patriots.
Yeah,
Guys beat the Patriots.
yeah. Thank you, guys. Thank you. And on top
But
of
the
that,
Bears can't.
yeah. And on top of that, it was at home too, which just makes it even worse because their schedule coming up. I seriously don't think that they're going to win another game. I really don't, and which sucks to hear because they played so good at the beginning of the year, and they were playing crap teams at the at the beginning of the year, but this is just another crap team that you got to go out and you got to win, and they finally fired their offensive coordinator Shane Waldron, and I mean, Eberflus is right on the doorstep of that as well. I think that he should be fired as well because it just continues to prove the point of they keep doing the same thing over and over and over. and they're not changing anything, and they think that something's going to change just miraculously by drafting Caleb Williams, who is, like Jared says all the time, he would rather watch paint dry than watch the Bears play. And it's just to the point of, like, I can't remember who told me the other day, but it's like, I think it was Drew. It was where Chicago is where quarterbacks go to, like, their careers go to die, and we continue to draft a new quarterback every couple years, and what happens? It's the same thing over and over and over, and eventually, it's just getting to the point where I can't even stand. Like, I don't even want to watch them. I don't even want to watch. And if there was a clip, there was fans leaving the game at halftime, and it's like we're at home, and I'm gonna be honest with you, boys. I think Caleb Williams needs to be benched. I'm gonna be honest with you. At least at least for a week or so. And I mean, we have Tyson Bagent, so it's not like we're gonna get any better at the quarterback position. But
Can I ask why you think? Because he hasn't been turning the ball over or anything. He's a rookie. I just want to know why you think. Like, what do you think? Do you think that makes the Bears better if they bench him? Like, what's your reasoning behind that? Or is it just like a slap on the wrist of
he,
like, because he's not he's not like actively losing those, like he's not giving the other team the ball or leading the league in turnovers
no,
or anything crazy like that.
that's not. Yeah, no, I'm not saying he's turning the ball over, but like he threw the ball 30 times this week and only connected 16 times. And it's just been it's like he has a week where he's really good, and then he has a week where he's just absolutely dog water and just doesn't look like he's comfortable at all. And I get it, our offensive line is not good either, but at what point in time does it fall back on him, and like, hey, like, even though our offensive line is not good, we're going to work on that. And granted, I think they had like it was either 3 or 6 guys that were offensive linemen that were out this week, and so I'm not 100% blaming it on him, but at some point you have to become that quarterback. And like, we've seen quarterbacks with terrible offensive lines before that will still give their team a chance to win, and not scoring 12 points in 2 weeks.
This,
That's
this
that's just ridiculous.
so I just want to make I have a few points that I want to mention on the Bears. First of all, I mean, who wants any coach named Eberflus? Uh, anyways, every time I hear Eberflus,
No one.
I think of Cat in the Hat, Mr. Hubberflube or whatever his name is. That's what I think of every single time, Mr. Hubberflube. But I just wanted to make that first point. Second point, our beloved Darnell Wright has been hurt, so they're missing their first round right tackle from a year ago for the past few weeks. So that never helps the offensive
And
line. But
yeah, I mean, I get
I
that.
want to thirdly I want to say I think Patrick Mahomes and CJ Stroud have like ruined the NFL for young quarterbacks in a sense of like now that those two did what they did, everybody overreacts and expects every single rookie quarterback to instantly show up in the NFL and play exactly like those two guys did because everyone's like, well, they did it, so that's the new standard. But that's just not how. Not that's like the rare exception where someone shows up and instantly becomes an MVP level caliber player. Like Jaden Daniels is another example of like but again, in his case, even like the Commanders are very happy, and I would be too. But like they beat the bad teams and they've lost to all the good teams that they've played. Like their losses are to the good teams. But I'm saying like I think that the NFL has lost that sense of patience with the quarterback, and that's why I asked you a second ago, like, so you want Caleb Williams benched, and your reasoning is because he's inconsistent. Like he's a
Not
rookie in the NFL, and like you said, he has like a
not
great week
necessarily.
and then he has like a bad one. But that's what I'm saying. But like his bad, like he's got a lower incompletion percentage, but like I promise you, there's worse that could be out there in terms of like he's not giving the other team
I
the
mean,
ball
and
40
I
times a game.
agree. Yeah,
But
and I
that's
agree
just
with what you're saying. It just when when he goes out there this past weekend and he averages 4 yards of completion, like, what are we doing? Just, like, throwing checkdowns every single play? And it's like, uh, and I'm
Well,
not
that's what.
saying, like, okay, so we just fired our offensive coordinator, right? So I'm gonna say that the next week or 2 are gonna be hard, especially since this next 2 weeks they play the Packers and they play the Vikings and then they play the Lions. So the next 3 weeks, my bad. The next 3 weeks are going to be it's I don't know, man. It's like
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I think
we-
like the Bears were in. They traded for the pick to draft Caleb Williams, but the Bears' actual pick was ninth overall. That was for a reason. The Bears were not a good football team last year. Bears, like, they're not one of the best football teams this year. That's okay. They're just, I think the expectations were kind of a little high, and especially when they started the way they did this year. But like their defense is elite, but again, like they're just they're not one of the best teams in the league, and that's okay. I think like it's okay. Like they're still in a rebuild.
yeah,
Like they had 2 first-round picks last year. Um, they're gonna end with a better record this year than they had last year, and that's improvement. And like Caleb Williams is, yeah, he's not the best playing the best out of the quarterbacks in this class, but Drake May already is like close to catching him in turnovers and picks, and he's only played for 3 weeks now. Because he throws like 2 or 3 picks a game. Even against the Bears, he threw 2. I think he threw 2 against the Titans, and then I know he threw a couple against the Texans in his first game. Um, I think he's played 4 games because he beat the Jets, but um, and then Jaden Daniels. I mean, he's not like lighting up the stat sheet. He's just winning, but that's in the NFL. That's what truly matters. But like
yeah.
statistically, like he's had a couple of good games, but like his touchdown numbers aren't anything like crazy. Um, his passing yards are like good, but like I think that the NFL has lost their patience level
Yeah.
with head coaches and quarterbacks. Because like imagine if the Colts had the same mindset when they had Peyton Manning and he broke the interception record. Imagine if they benched his ass after the first season, and then we
Oh,
never heard from him again after that because they benched him. I'm not saying every single quarterback that has a bad rookie year is going to be Peyton Manning if they keep playing him. That's not what I'm
yeah.
saying. But like, imagine what the Colts would have. We wouldn't. Peyton Manning wouldn't be where he is if they decided that they were going to just bench him and then draft a new quarterback because he had a bad
Yeah.
rookie year. And there's a lot of other examples like that.
And I'm
Josh
not.
Allen is another
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
currently playing. So like it's just again that's an outlier thing. Not every bad rookie quarterback will be a Josh Allen or a Peyton Manning, but I'm just saying there are guys like that that just they're going to be good eventually. It's just some guys don't naturally like when y'all picked up a baseball for the first time, y'all weren't throwing 90 instantly. Like some people take a little bit longer than others to get there, and that's okay, but like that doesn't mean that some people are going to be bad their whole time. Like some people will. Caleb Williams could suck in 3 years from now, but I don't. I think it's way too early to. I mean, this is the same
And
thing. Like the Panthers just benched Bryce Young a few weeks ago. The Colts are actively benching Anthony Richardson. Like, what is benching Caleb Williams? The guy you just drafted first overall a few months ago. Like, what's the point in benching him right now for Tyler Badgett? Like, that's what I'm just. That's why I was
and
asking you. I don't understand what the purpose of that would be. Because
and
at this point, it's your
so
rookie. Just give him experience.
yeah, and like like you said, like the NFL has lost their patience with rookie quarterbacks and doing like they're expecting every rookie quarterback for that franchise to come out here and just light up the stat sheet and lead them to the playoffs and lead them to a Super Bowl, and that's just unrealistic to look at it. And I know that I dog on Caleb Williams all the time, and it's just like, but I think it's more of a looking at the Bears franchise standpoint more than looking at him because we continue to do the same thing and draft these quarterbacks, but we're not giving them any protection to allow them to have not a fantastic season, but have a decent rookie season to then build off of. And it's just at what point do we build around him now? Like it's not a talent thing. Like the Bears are very talented. They have a lot of weapons that they can use, but they proceed to not give Caleb Williams any time to. I see you, JP. They don't give him any time. And like back to your other point, Dylan, like Bryce Young got benched, right? Well, look at him now. He got benched for those couple games, and now he's actually playing not necessarily a lot better, but he's playing decent. Like
Yeah, he threw 134 yards and really took it
that,
to those.
that's not what I'm saying.
It
Not what I'm
really
saying.
took it to him this weekend.
But he's
Took it
looking
to
a little
those
bit better.
2-6 Giants.
Yeah, and
Threw
yeah,
for
but
134 yards.
I'm just saying he's I don't know. At what I don't know. Not necessarily to bench Caleb Williams for a couple games or whatever, but like you gotta change something up.
Yeah, I don't think it's. Then that's just my point. Like, it's okay to change. I think they just did change something up. They fired their offensive coordinator, but
Which hopefully is a step in the right direction.
I don't know if Jacob's trying to call timeout or what.
Yeah,
but,
I am.
yeah.
I've been sitting here. I mean, this is y'all a terrible officiating crew right here.
Well, hey, Tyler was watching you, and then he answered me.
Hey,
I just,
buddy, I'm like the ref for the Chiefs. I don't see anything.
But Jacob, you can just butt in at any point. You don't have to call
Well, he was in a
timeout.
mid thought, so I was just.
Well, I appreciate it. I
was trying not to
appreciate
be
it.
rude.
Appreciate it.
So going back to where you said that he got sacked 9 times, at what point? I didn't watch any of the games, so I can't really have an input on it. At what point do you say that he just holds on to the ball too long, and it's not all on his lineman?
And that's what I'm saying. Like I feel like he's still in that college mindset of, okay, I'm holding on to the ball way too long, and because like every defensive lineman that you're going to play against is respectfully an All-American compared to your college ones that you might have one or two sprinkled in here that are really going to put the pressure on you. And I like you, like JP. I agree with what you said. I think he is holding on to the ball too long at times. Like if you look at when he gets rid of the ball quicker, the drives last longer, the offense gets going more instead of him holding on to the ball and.
I just want you to know now my computer is also about to die on top of my headset. So.
Well, there's more stuff that I could go into, but I'm just gonna sound like a broken record at this point.
Yeah.
I mean,
We know you don't like Caleb Williams, and you're
I
upset with
never-
how the Bears are playing. So
and I'm not like one more point is I wasn't expecting them to go out and win the division and go win a Super Bowl. That's not realistic. But
The Super Bowl shuffle.
yeah,
do
seriously.
you boys do you have any final thoughts? Because my computer does.
Oh.
And,
No, I'm good if y'all are good.
yeah, we
Wait.
can talk more about.
Yeah, we
got a little carried away on a few different topics, but they were different topics than what we normally get carried away.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Irish.
Oi, get it on my sandwich. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to drop that like and subscribe. And JP, what do they need to do?
Hit the bell button for a notification when we go live.
Exactly. You'll never miss a moment of the TJD Sports Podcast. And we will be back on Friday night to cover the weekend slate and cover our favorite teams and what they need to do in the upcoming matchups. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.
All right,
All
butt
right, boys.
hurts.
Well, it's
I'm
10
gonna take a
o'clock.
shower.
I gotta go.
Well, I really enjoyed that.